Hi, everyone. This is Caitlin, the Assistant Director here at the Institute of Beauty and Wellness. For our students, alumni, and industry professionals that are joining us, I wanted to welcome you to our Beauty Care series. We have at 2 p.m. today, Dusty Rhode, who will be doing razor cutting. And at 3 p.m., we have Claire Marie Miller doing pregnancy massage. For those of you that want to follow along, you can subscribe to our channels and comment below for any questions you have for our speakers. Our first speaker is Dusty, and he's recognized as one of the most successful and influential educators in his specialty. He's been featured at Aveda Congress, Aveda Mid-America Show, countless photo shoots, and New York Fashion Week. Haircutting is Dusty's passion, and we're going to see that work from him today. Thanks.
Hey everybody, Dusty Rhode here. I think I'm live now. I can't really see anybody. If somebody could maybe type me a message. I want to see if I can get the chat to come through and see if we can get any chat message to work. All right, so I got the cue that we are actually live. Sorry about that, you guys. Once again, my name's Dusty Rhode. I've been in the industry for a long time. I actually went to the Aveda Institute in Minneapolis in 1997, and kind of Aveda's been a big part of my career all throughout my entire journey, and so it's kind of an honor to work with you guys. I know I've been to the school before and did some hands-on stuff with some of you quite a while ago, I think it was. But today I'm going to be going over, some razor work. They also asked me to talk a little bit about disconnection, and I think disconnection and razor work are a couple of my two favorite things to teach on. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you guys had Gerard do some razor stuff the other day too. And I've known Gerard for a number of years. He is actually incredible, phenomenal, and I'm going to guess that he was using a straight blade. I'm going to use more of the Feather Stylist razor. So Feather makes a bunch of different razors. He was probably using the Feather Plie. This is the Feather Stylist razor. I'm not going to get into that too much, but I'll kind of get into the functions, why the razor can be important, and try not to go over too many things you probably already went over with you a couple days ago. But I really want to touch on a lot of disconnection things. So I feel like disconnection is like a crusade I've been on for about the past 10 years. And it's almost, I feel real passionate about it. Without disconnection, applying disconnection into your shapes as you guys grow and you get better and you start to learn how to build shapes. All right, so I think we're back. It booted me off for some reason. But things what I was getting into was about really disconnection and how if we don't begin to incorporate elements of disconnection into our everyday work, I think we're going to really be left behind. I think it is so crucial and so important to creating almost all modern shapes these days that if we don't apply the elements of disconnection, you're kind of really stuck in a pretty tight box that stifles your creativity and doesn't really allow you to create and be as creative as you really could be when applying disconnection. And I always say that the first rule of disconnection is you don't talk about disconnection. And so the idea of meaning with that is you have a lot of times it doesn't matter. I think one of the most unprofessional things that we can do behind the chair is really let the customer and our guests dictate to us how to do our jobs. And that just really cannot happen. I think that's crucial that we end up taking control, having good, thorough consultations. But then after that, really how we choose to create our process and how we choose to create our looks and our styles and our overall shapes, really up to us, down to it's none of their business what tools we use. If you want to use a razor, if you want to use your clipper, you want to use your scissor, you want to use your thinning scissor, that's really going to be up to the professional because those are professional technical things. So if we got too many cooks in the kitchen and you got your customers kind of tell you how to do your job, that makes it really difficult to be as creative as you can be. Now at the same time, it's really not our job to force our creative will onto our customers. So the idea is having a good, thorough consultation and then meeting those needs and meeting those expectations. The rest is up to you. Anything that comes that's in the professional scheme after that, tools, techniques, anything professional is really up to you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up doing a bob shape for you guys. I'm going to use a razor. I'm going to apply a lot of different elements of disconnection. Within that, we're going to end up doing some dry cutting on top. So we're going to kind of break a whole bunch of, what you call traditional guidelines. I wouldn't even call them rules because there's not too many. There's things we learn in hair school which are super important because we have to learn the foundations of how to build shape, how to stand, how to create, clean lines, how to make clean sections. But then after that, wheels can come off the wagon and you can create shapes however that you want. So for the shape that I'm going to be creating is actually going to be using the feather stylist razor. Now this is what some people call more of like a stick razor. That is where the blades are built. The guard is actually built right into the blade. And if you can see, I think you guys can see on here pretty good. There is two sides to this. So there is a side where the blade is exposed, and then there's a side where the guard is in front of the blade. Now what I've found I've had the best luck with is that you want the exposed part of the blade facing towards you. So when you go to cut hair, the first thing that touches the hair is actually the guard of the blade. I find it slides and you get a real nice smooth cut out of that. I'm going to show you a few different hand positions that I actually use when holding the razor. But for what we're going to do first, so I'm going to go through here. I'm going to remove my desired perimeter length, and how I'm going to go about doing that is I'm going to be in my first position, which is going to be overhand position. So basically all you're looking at here is that my hand is over the razor. I always try to make sure I use a lot of water. Another thing that's really good for doing razor cuts and keeping the hair moisturized is the Nutriplenish spray. That leave-in is incredible for doing razor work. The idea with any razor work is I always try to just have a consistent moisture content in there. I will razor dry hair if I feel like it's going to achieve the shape I'm going for. And I'll razor wet hair. What I try to stay away from is a combination of the two because where the hair is wet, the razor is going to slide and cut better. Where the hair is dry, it's going to actually drag and do a little bit more work to the cuticle. So when in my overhand position, so I got the guard touching the hair first, the exposed part of the blade facing me. I'm going to go through, because I want kind of a shattered finish here. One, if you want your perimeter, when all said and done, you want a shattered, broken perimeter, I really encourage people to create that while they're creating the actual shape. A challenge that can be a huge time waster and be counterproductive to what your end goal is if you know you want a shattered perimeter, one of the worst things you can do from a timing standpoint and just from creating your shape is to cut a blunt line where you want it. So if you cut a blunt line into your desired length and then you go to try to shatter it out later, well, usually you're either going to be running late because it takes you so long to do that, or you're going to be an inch or 2 inches shorter than what you originally intended on being. So I like to put in the texture, the brokenness, while cutting the perimeter as opposed to it being an afterthought. So I'll try to move closer here. How I'm going to go about doing that is I'm going to grab little sections of hair. And with each one of these little sections, kind of just like a little lock of hair, I'm not going to pre-twist it, but what I am going to do is I'm going to take in the inner pad of my thumb, and the inner pad of my pointer finger, I'm going to roll these pieces of hair back and forth, 180 this way, 180 that way, while simultaneously going up and down with my razor strokes. So then what that will look like is this. So then when you're done, you get a real kind of shattered, flared out, finished each one of the locks of hair that you get. Now this is what we actually want to go for. It might seem tedious and it might seem like a lot of work, but it's a big time saver at the end of the day because I'm not going to have to go back and do more work to this perimeter. So the key here is rolling it back and forth while simultaneously making longer strokes with your razor to remove your desired length. So you get something like that. Now what you want to be cautious of is that you're not taking really short strokes with the razor, because if I was doing little strokes like this with the razor, real tiny, I'm going to create more of a blunt, a real blunt line here. Or if I was trying to move too quickly, let's just say I was grabbing my lock of hair and I just cut through it too quick and I didn't let the razor do the work, I'm also going to get another blunt finish. So you want to take your little locks, not too much hair, roll it back and forth while letting the razor do the works with the longer strokes to really get that broken, shattered perimeter. So as I continue to the other side, the goal is you're kind of visualizing your perimeter as you put it in. Razor cutting, I would highly recommend the earlier you are in your career, the more comfortable you get with using the razor. Because if you spend the first 10 years, even 5 years of your career not using a razor at all and just using your scissors and doing more straight line cutting work, well, you're going to get really good at judging your work and judging your haircuts based on those straight lines that you're putting in. And so then when you go to utilize a razor, well, that's not the point of the razor. So you're going to have to be able to shift from judging your work by looking at straight lines to when you're using a razor, you need to be able to judge your work from back here, taking a step back and just looking at balance and symmetry. Because if you went through all those little pieces that I cut, if I went through and I tried to flatten this out and get them smooth, and then I was like, oh, well, that's a little longer, that's a little shorter, and I went through and I tried to even those out, I would just completely defeat the purpose of everything that I just did. So when doing razor work, it's really good when you can judge your work with balance and symmetry, just looking at the shape, as opposed to when you're using a scissors and cutting straight lines and just looking at your straight lines. So I'm going to move on to the next side. And if anybody has a question, I do have the chat screen it should be working. So if anybody has any questions, I would try to keep an eye on that and fire away. I'm still waiting for a question. Somebody at least let me know it's just not broken. So as I finish this side, I'm trying to go through making sure that I mimic the exact same long strokes with the razor, trying to make sure that I'm not grabbing really large locks of hair in one section and then really small locks of hair in the next section. So that's really what we're looking for, just a nice, broken, shattered perimeter. So then with the perimeter complete, now the next thing that I'm going to do is I want to remove some additional fullness back in through here. One thing that you're going to notice throughout your entire career, your existence of cutting bobs, is that there's going to be a big triangle in through here. There's going to be a lot of weight, and a lot of people have tons of weight because they leave that weight behind the ears here. And it's because when they're working back here, they're either over-directing and purposefully leaving a bunch of weight, which can cause a problem, or they're just not removing or committing enough to the interior layers back in through here. So I did get a question through, at least on my watch, if it would make a big difference if I took a bigger lock of hair or if I took a smaller lock of hair. And yeah, if you take too large of a lock of hair, then what ends up happening is you're going to sit there working on that lock of hair, and you're shattering it, and if the lock of hair is too big, you're pulling it from so many different directions. By the time you're done cutting it, it flares out, and you're getting these longer lengths. So I try to keep those locks pretty small. Everybody's hair density is going to be a little bit different, so I can't tell you, well, it's this length or this width. So the idea is you only want to work with enough hair. You shouldn't have to sit here and grind on these for too long. So small enough to where you can work through them pretty quickly and cleanly. So a really good question came in too. When do you prefer to use a razor over a scissors? And the honest answer for this, part of it depends on my mood that day. So like, if you got a customer that you see all of the time, and you know you want to do something different, and you just like, I'm getting bored, I need to do something different with the hair, I might grab a razor just to do a different approach to the haircut for my own sanity. Now, erasers can function to the point where they can cut clean straight lines, but if I'm going to cut clean straight lines, I usually prefer to use one of my scissors. If I want to create texture and movement and some pieciness, more of an organic feel, that's usually when I'm going to lean to my razor. I teach a lot of razor work and a lot of razor cutting classes, but even then, for how much I actually use it and to teach it, I'm probably only using it 30% of the time when doing customers and clients. It's just kind of the toss-up, I always encourage people to get really comfortable with all of the tools that you have in your arsenal. So then at that point, you're able to tackle any new trend or anything that might come in. So I'm going to go through, so for my next little phase here, I'm going to take this section. Now I want to remove a lot of this weight in through here. So I'm going to take this vertical section, I'm going to pull it straight out so it's parallel to the floor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch to pencil grip. I was just in overhand grip doing the perimeter. Now I'm going to switch to pencil grip. Now this is exactly what it sounds like. You're writing with a pencil. Now the huge benefit to that is when you go to take your sections, and I'm usually using pencil grip for section work, is you're going to get the smoothest, most efficient cut out of the razor blade when it is laying fairly close to parallel to the hair strand. And being in pencil grip allows your elbow to be low, the blade to be resting close to parallel to the hair strand, and then I only have to move 2 fingers to get the blade moving. Whereas if I was still in overhand grip, my elbow would be this high, and then my razor, I would have to either move my wrist or my whole arm to get the thing moving. So, but when in pencil grip, I can take my section, lay that blade pretty parallel to the hair strand, and then I'm going to take this corner off. We'll move to the next sections. Now I'm going to pull each one of these sections straight out from the head. At no point am I going to over direct anything back. I'm going to follow head shape the whole time with this. Knocking that little corner off. Now when I get to these corners here, this is where it can make people real nervous not to over direct hair back. But we have to think, what's happening when you over direct a bunch of this hair back? Well, you're going to leave a lot of weight underneath here. Now sometimes you need to over direct this hair back depending on the shape that you're trying to create, depending on the density of the customer's hair. But like I touched on earlier, one of the main issues people will be faced with when creating bobs is that triangle shape. So I find that the more weight you can remove back here behind the ear, the more freedom you have when this hair falls over it to not sit out like a big bell. So I'll try to answer another question while doing the other side here. All right, so another good question was how often do you replace your blades? And here's why the razor a lot of the times gets a bad rap. It's because people don't, there's not a ton of razor education. So honestly, just this week alone, you guys have had more razor education in your short period of time than most 20-year veterans have ever had. And I'm not even joking. Like that is to have a class with Gerard and then me, and I'm sure you're going to have some other really great educators. To have that much razor training already, it's unheard of because the razor gets a bad rap. People are afraid of it. They don't know how to use it. And a lot of the times they'll blame the razor for not working properly or for damaging or shredding the hair simply because they don't change the blade enough. So long story short, is if you're going to do a whole haircut, you need to change your blade every single haircut. And I do something that might be a little unique, which I can recommend for people to do, because sometimes you might use your razor and just do like a tiny little piece of a haircut, or you might use it for the whole haircut. Well, I have a red-handled razor and I have a black-handled razor. I don't have it with me right now. The black-handled razor is one I know I just barely touched a couple pieces with, so then I could probably use that blade again. The red-handled razor, every time I touch it, it needs a new blade. And these aren't that expensive. The actual tool itself is like $45. You can probably find them for even cheaper. The blades are what's expensive on these, where the one Gerard was using was awesome because the blades are less expensive, but the tool itself is more expensive. So here's my underneath. This is going to be my perimeter down here. I'm going to drop these next two sections. Another question was, do you ever have a fear of cutting too much off with the razor? And I'm sure I probably did at some point. I don't really anymore. I try to make sure that consultations are thorough. And you kind of talk about with your guests exactly where they are comfortable with all of their lengths falling. So when it comes to consultation, the most important thing that you can be 100% sure of is where they want their length. Because if you mess with somebody's length, you're messing with somebody's comfortability level. You mess with somebody's comfortability level, it doesn't matter what shape you create, the haircut's not going to go good because you've already put them in an uncomfortable position as if you did cut the hair too short. But if your consultations are thorough and you're having a convo with your guest, and you come to the agreement before you even shampoo that they want their hair to right here, Well, all you got to do is simply cut their hair to right there. And yeah, you do have to, it takes a little bit of time to get familiar and comfortable with the strokes of the blade and how it functions. But after a couple times using it, I think a lot of that fear goes away if there's a thorough consultation. So next phase, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to overhand grip. I'm going to grab these little locks of hair, do a little twist, and I'm going to be matching up my underneath perimeter. And I'm still pulling these down more into gravity. I'm not pulling them out because I don't want them to create much graduation and start to stack up on me. Now what I'm going to do is, because I do want to create a little bit more length in the front, I've got to this point here, I'm about an inch behind the ear. I'm going to start taking each one of these locks and over directing them back here behind the ear. So every one that I cut now is getting pulled back to the same stationary spot, about an inch behind the ear, still doing the same technique to remove the length. But then in turn what you get is you just get a real nice angle that moves forward just because you over directed everything to a stationary guide. So I'm going to come to this side. I'll repeat this side. So as far as another question came in was, how do you get your clients to switch up and to maybe use a razor? Honestly, I don't talk about it. Like if I'm going to, after we've had a thorough consultation, and I know where they want their lengths, and I know the shape that they're looking for, I don't talk about what tool I'm using. I start doing my job. And that can freak some people out, mostly the stylist more than anything, but you have to assume that people that are in your chair, that they trust you. And so one quick way to lose trust is doing a nice thorough consultation and then asking a customer, do you mind if I use a razor on your hair today? That's not cool at all. You have your thorough consultation and then you move and you actually go right to whatever professional tool you're going to use because you're the professional and it's up to you. So that's how I get them to switch. I don't talk about it. Then what you might end up being faced at some point is somebody might be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Don't razor my hair. Then you can have the conversation like, Linda, honey, listen. Like, okay, Karen, settle down. I'm going to use a razor because this is the look that you're going for. This is the shape that we talked about. In my professional opinion, this is the best tool to get you there. Thanks, bye. And then usually from there, that's enough said. And, as harsh or stern as that might sound, that's actually a really good way to actually build confidence with you and your customer because they know you're not going to take any, nonsense from them. Because I usually find that there's two types of customers. There's one group of customers that sit in this chair, and there's a group of customers that sit in this chair. They both say the same thing. This group of customers that somebody cuts, anytime something new is done, they say, oh, that's new, what are you doing? This type of customer here, Karen, needs to speak to a manager, and she'll be like, that's new, what are you doing? So who's the common denominator here? Well, it's actually the stylist. I find the clientele will get away with what you let your clientele get away with. Meaning that if you let these people walk all over you, tell you how to do your job, you're asking them permission to use certain tools, and it's like you're looking for their approval. Well, if you think they're bad, they usually end up bringing their friends, and their friends are even worse. And then their friends bring their kids, and before you know it, you quit and you're done doing hair. So whereas if you stand your ground and you're professional the entire time, and a big part of being professional is being able to tell somebody no. And no, we're doing what I'm doing, what my professional opinion is. And then you end up breeding a clientele of excited people that end up, every time you learn something new, they want to be a part of it. They're looking forward to the education that you're getting and forward to the new trends because they know you'll be able to tackle a lot of the new stuff because you're not afraid to try new things. Hair doesn't stay stagnant and the same for years and years and years. So Sometimes you better know how to use that razor, because in 5 years you might really need it. You better really know how to use, all kinds of tools. All right, so next what I'm going to do, that I've established my perimeter for this shape, I'm going to switch to actually the peeling technique. Now this is going to be where you're kind of holding it overhand, but then we're going to use it to where you actually are peeling the hair off. Now I think a lot of times when people attempt this, they feel like you have to push your thumb on here hard to cut the hair. You are barely touching this. The only thing your thumb is doing is holding the hair in position enough so you can twist the blade and then get it almost parallel to the hair strand, and then lightly graze the hair off. If you're pushing really hard with your thumb and you're trying to twist and turn it, you're going to end up shredding the hair. So it's a very gentle twist and peel movement, and the only thing your thumb is doing is holding the hair in place. All right, so for this approach, I'm going to take these hair strands. I'll take a vertical subsection. I'm going to pull them straight up in the air. And then as long as some of my perimeter drops out here, as soon as I see some drop out, I can go through and I'm going to cut straight across. So we're going to want to go pull straight up and then cut straight across. Now here's the beauty of cutting straight up and straight across, is after you've done that, what you've done is you've created a really nice angle that is angled this way, which really encourages the hair to actually collapse and wrap back around the head shape and really lighten the amount of density that's in through here. So I'm going to move to the next section, begin working around the back of the head, not over directing anything, just traveling guide until I get to the spot where I began to over direct the perimeter back. So that was about 1 inch behind the ear. Somebody asked if razor cuts are easy to maintain at home. Well, they absolutely should be. Now, if you have a customer that comes in and you had a thorough consultation, and if you're using a razor, my guess is that you tried to create some nice organic lived-in texture, meaning that's the shape that they should be trying to style it in, or just kind of letting it live in. And so, yeah, I think they should absolutely, and they are absolutely easy to maintain at home, as long as your consultation matches the shape that you actually created, which also matches the home care that they're trying to do. So if you went and you created a super textured bob with lots of movement in it, and it had just, a kind of a real organic feel to it, and then they went home and then tried to style it completely different or smooth it out 100%, it might not behave the way that you actually designed the cut. So you always want to make sure that your and your guest expectations are on the same page. So what I do want to touch on now is that I am beginning to over direct these sections back, and I'm over directing them back to about 1 inch behind the ear, still pulling it straight up and cutting straight across. A question came through, how many techniques do I typically do when I'm doing a razor cut? I'm trying to show you the 3 main ones that I do, or at least there's kind of 3 technical approaches. 1 being the overhand grip for doing more of my perimeter work. 2 being the pencil grip for when doing more of my vertical layering work. And then 3 being the peeling when I'm doing more of my overhand layering, like either through the top of the head or as you're seeing me do right here through the middle part of the head. So usually about 3 different broad range techniques, I would say. And so I'm going to repeat that on this side. I will continue to just follow head shape until I get to about 1 inch behind the ear here. Then I will begin to over direct these back. All right, so that was the spot to where I was going to over direct these back. So as you can see, the shape's starting to unfold here. We've created a nice angle going forward on both sides, and we've removed a lot of the density that is in through here. So actually what I'm going to do next is I'm going to try to quickly blow dry this. I know that's not the funnest part to watch, and maybe the mic can be muted. I'm going to quickly try to blow dry this. And then I did leave this top dry. I've already dried the top, and it's flat iron smooth. So I'm going to do the entire top of this haircut by sculpting the shape, and I'm actually going to move to a dry cutting scissor next. So I'm going to dry this quick. I've already got some Nutriplenish in there. All right, so I did get a question. Do I normally drop or dry the top right away? And the answer is it just depends on, the shape that I'm trying to create. And really, the importance and the point I wanted to drive home with you guys today is you can use a razor. You can implement disconnection. You can cut hair dry if you want to. Now, what I've done here is this shape in the back here. We didn't touch on this, but this haircut, this piece, this underneath layer is not connected to this at all. The only spot it's even kind of connected is because when we dropped the perimeter, and the perimeters were cut in a very similar spot. And then as far as you have to also be able at times give yourself the creative freedom to cut the entire top of the hair dry if you want to, or any part of the hair. So what I'm going to do quick is I'm just going to run an iron through here just to make the ends a little crispier. So what we're looking for when all said and done is a nice shattered perimeter with lots of movement in it that doesn't look like a big triangle. All right, so before I move to the top, I'm actually going to do some cutting in through here, and I'll kind of fill you in and give you guys some updates about what I've been currently doing. So for the past, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years, I've been on the road, and like on an airplane every Saturday, almost every single Saturday on an airplane, going somewhere, people's salons, teaching somebody something. And I just got to a point in my life to where I really needed to take a step back from traveling. I have a family and everything. And so what my wife and I ended up doing is we created the Rhode Professional Academy. And the Rhode Pro Academy is based in Minnesota. It's not far from the Mall of America. Obviously, nobody's traveling anywhere at the moment. But at that academy, when things go back to normal, hopefully sooner than later, what we do is we host a lot of classes. So we have, academy classes. There'll be one-day classes. Sometimes there's 2-day classes, really revolved around doing 3 haircuts in with each one of those classes, hands-on work. You're doing 3 haircuts on one mannequin head, so it's basically a destination point for where people can come take education. Another big part of the Rhode Professional Academy is our Rhode.pro website. So on our Rhode.pro website, you can sign up for classes. Even if you're still students, we still take students. Another thing we have, though, which we're really super proud of, is our Rhode Pro Designer Scissors. So we have a line of designer scissors that we came out with, and these ones I'm going to use now are the dry cutting ones. You can see they're kind of goofy. They got a wide shape to them. Now, what makes a dry cutting shear actually work really well is when the interior blade, so if you can see the interior of the blade, is bowed. Because dry cutting scissors are meant to slide, push, and cut at the same time. That's what makes them go effortlessly through dry hair. Whereas if you tried to take a dry cutting scissor shaped with an interior blade like that and cut clean, straight lines on wet hair, it's actually going to push the hair. It's not going to function the way that it should. So whereas if you use them properly on dry hair, and I'll show you the different techniques I do for that, they just flow right through the hair. Now, one thing that I'm doing for you guys, and you guys only, that are watching this class, is right now, and then obviously money's tight for everybody, but what I did, if anybody is in the market for any scissors, you could go to Rhode.pro, and I created a custom code just for the Madison school. So it's, if you typed in Aveda Madison, all capital, all one word, as a discount code, it knocks $125 off any scissor that you want. So they go from $325, you get them for $200. For only $200, you get a really good pair, and these are the scissors I use all the time. The Rhode designer scissors. So if you're in the market, and clearly not many people are working, but I wanted to do something more dramatic in case anybody was in the market. So it's a $125 discount code for that. We do have some combs. The brush that I was using also is on there. So it's just another place that you can pick up good quality professional tools. But that enough being said, I'm going to go through, finish this haircut. So what I'm going to do next is there's two main techniques that I like to do when using dry cutting scissors. The first one is sculpting technique, and then the second one is a slide cutting technique. Now the main differences between sculpting and sliding is when you're doing a traditional slide cutting, you can see you usually only have one blade on the interior of the hair, and then you're kind of going through, you're cutting through the hair, and what that's going to do well is it'll kind of create some gaps and separation this way. But if you want to actually remove fullness in bulk, that's when moving to the sculpting, to where you have both blades on the exterior, lightly pinching the work that you're trying to do, just sliding just like butter through the hair, removing any additional unwanted weight. This is the first thing that I like to do, remove the bulk first. Now clearly, we don't have a ton of triangular shape here. We got committed in that nape area and removed a lot of weight, which is a great thing to do, because then when you go to this part of the haircut, you're not having to do two more haircuts. So then after I've gone through and did my pass with sculpting, removing any unwanted fullness, then if I want to go and create some separation, then I will go through and do more of a traditional slide cutting. One blade on the interior, one blade on the exterior, and then what that's doing is it's fanning it out this way. All right, so I'm feeling pretty good about the amount of density and the amount of separation I'm getting through here. I'm now going to drop the top. I might have to run the iron through there a couple more times to get any bend out. So I'm just going to run an iron through there real quick. One question that came through was, have I ever done any celebrities, or what is my most memorable part of my career so far? The only celebrity I've ever done, none of you probably even know who it is. There used to be a show called Cheers. Norm from Cheers. This is the only celebrity that I would consider that I've actually done their hair. Besides, the runway models at Fashion Week. Did Fashion Week a good handful of times. It actually wasn't my favorite thing to do. But some people just love it. And the great thing about the Aveda Network is it gives you a good opportunity to try to get in there and get your hands on some Fashion Week stuff, which I'm sure your educators can tell you all about. But I would say my most memorable part of my career so far was when I got to be one of the headliners for Aveda Congress, the last Congress that we did. I was able to incorporate my family. My son stole the show. My daughter was on stage. I got to bring my wife out there. I got to really showcase some of my employees at the salon that I co-own in St. Paul, Minnesota. So I would say that was it. That had always been like a goal of mine. From the first time I ever saw a Congress hair show, was to be one of the headliners for it. I got to do that. It was incredible, and I'd say that was it. That was the peak so far. So now to finish this shape, you can see all I'm doing is I'm taking these remaining pieces and literally eyeballing and just sculpting my desired length in. Another question came in is, what do you charge for a haircut? Now, I actually don't take a book of clients like at the salon at all, and I haven't for about 6-7 years. So the people that I still cut, they're usually friends, family, and a bunch of stragglers that I haven't been able to get rid of for about 20 years. And so I don't really keep a solid book. And pricing really has to do with your availability, how busy you want to be, what location that you're in. Um, so I would say, if you're going to do, the highest I ever charged was in downtown Minneapolis, and this was over 10 years ago, and it was like $65 for a haircut. Now, if I still was there and I, still kept that job, it'd probably be close to 100 now, I'm guessing. But really, sometimes people can get they can get lost. They can turn into like price queens and then think that price is really everything. Really it has to do with how busy do you want to be. Let's just say that if you want to, men's hair is something that I really focus on a lot, that I educate a ton of. And if you want to have a really solid book of men's hair, hair clientele, you're kind of capping on price, especially depending on your location and just depending on the competition that is around you in your area. I've ran into some people over the years. They're like, my men's haircuts are $80, and I'm like, well, how is that, guy? Because you have one client. If it's just not a huge market of guys that are going to spend $80 a haircut, especially we're in the Midwest too. Now, of course, there's exceptions to the rule everywhere. You're gonna hear people over your career like they charge $600-700 for their haircut, and I'm like, good. I wish I could do that. I don't live in that world, and usually that ends up being a much bigger city than a lot of the Midwest that we live in, and really just supply and demand for the individual that's doing the haircut. So I'm doing a little bit of face framing. Even though I did an angle bob going that way, I still want to open up the face area just a little bit. Just to push it back, but still have it longer in the front. I'm looking at questions. Oh, another part to that question too was how much time do you book out? Now, timing's one of those things that I always enjoyed having an hour to do my female clients. I don't know that my haircuts were any better than when I did them in 45. I did enjoy the hour, but you got to make sure that your pricing accommodates those extra 15 minutes. So let's just say you try to hit $1 a minute. Well, you're charging, you better charge $60 for that 1 hour. Or if you're going to book on the 45s, you could charge less for your haircut, do more customers, but then you'd be doing it in a tighter time frame. I noticed the importance of timing more when I was doing men's haircuts, though, because I found that I spent 10 years booking on the 45s for my men's haircuts, and I found that if you give me 45 minutes to do a men's haircut, I'm going to do it in like 48. But if you give me 30 minutes to do a men's haircut, I'm going to do it in 29. It's a different mindset. Like when I know I only have 30 minutes to do something, I'm very efficient. I get what needs to get done without just the kind of just messing and fluttering around with the hair unnecessarily. Getting the job done, not cutting any corners, not skipping anything, not lessening the quality of the service. It's just go time. So sometimes it might just be like a mental game that you'll have to decide for yourself. All right, if you give yourself 45 minutes, are you more efficient? Or if you give yourself an hour, are you more efficient as long as you're charging, according to your timing? What else do we got? I think somebody throw some more questions out. Because right now the last thing that I'm going to do for this shape is I'm just going to go through. Whoops, daisies. I'm going to check underneath and do some very deep point cutting, touching up the perimeter. Somebody already bought some scissors from you guys, so I appreciate that, and you're going to love them. I'll get them sent out ASAP. That either means you weren't paying attention, though. So you're doing, somebody did awesome and is in trouble. So thank you guys very much. So you can see that's kind of the overall shape here. Very shattered, textured perimeter. Even though it's inverted towards the front, we still tried to open it up a little bit with a little bit of face framing. And once again, we went from having this nape area that we cut is completely disconnected from these two midsections that we cut. The perimeters were somewhat similar. And then lastly, this top section was way longer than everything else and is also not connected to this. So if we were to go through, I'm not going to take this hair and hold this out. We got one step here. That's not connected to this. This is not connected to that. Now this is where it doesn't need to be some big secret. If you might have a customer in your chair that's like, what about this piece? Or what about this piece? You don't have to pretend like you didn't do any type of disconnection. You can always let them know that based on their hair texture or their desired shape that they wanted, I'll let somebody know that, all right, you want to do, let's just say somebody wanted a nice inverted bob, but they had 7 heads of hair that you're having to sit and cut out to get rid of that triangle. I'll let them know that I'm going to have to take this underneath here shorter than this, so it's easier for them to style, it looks better, and it grows out better. So when they are going through it, it won't be a surprise that, oh, this is shorter, this is longer. You can be completely upfront with somebody and just let them know. Just you don't want them to tell you how to do your job. I think we had another question come through. Do you typically put a side part or how the client normally has it? So it would always be, I try to make sure that we have a thorough discussion about where their part actually is. Now, what I would really encourage you guys to make sure that you don't get caught up in doing is playing the game of like, oh, well, do you want to just cut it down the middle so then you can part it wherever you want? That is false. That is a bad move, especially the shorter the hair gets. If you tried to create a shape like this, and you cut it down the middle, well, then you went to part it on the side, it would be a completely different shape. So I always try to go based off of their part. I says I have 1 minute left, and it says, what is your advice for a student who wants to get in the film industry and hair and makeup artist? I have no idea. I don't do that. There are a lot of people out there, though, on Instagram that you could probably reach out to and give you some better information. Well, thank you, guys. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you learned something from this. And check out Rhode.pro if you ever need any tools or anything. I know one of you already did. Appreciate it. Hope to see you guys again on one of these. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay away from people, I guess. Thank you, guys.
Dusty, thanks again. That was a great presentation. And I know we had a lot of takeaways over in the comments and some great questions. For those of you that were wondering about the discount code, I will make sure we get that up on learnaveda.net so that you guys can purchase some shears with that. So thanks, Dusty. Next up, we have Claire Marie Miller, who's going to be doing pregnancy massage. And Claire has actually been doing massage, body work, and reflexology for 39 years. It was the birth of her own 3 babies that created her passion to support other mothers during this time. Her Nurturing the Mother pregnancy massage program was born from this and has started to include postpartum massage and fertility massage. Up next, Claire Marie Miller.
Hello, how's everybody doing out there? I hope you're all staying safe as well. And boy, it's frustrating for massage therapists to not be able to touch. This is a challenging time. So, is there an audience out there somewhere? Because I still see some folks from the previous. So I just want to check in to see if there's anybody out there. So let me know if there's anybody there so I know when to fully begin with this. We see some hellos. Okay. All right. So I'm assuming, are these massage school students, students in your program? And we'll be joining our profession soon. Hello. I can see all you saying hi. All right. All right. Hello. Massage student here. Okay. Let's see all the names coming in. I just want to wait till everybody sort of gets in place and ready to hear this. Someone said pregnancy massage is awesome. Maybe that person was received pregnancy massage. So have any of you received pregnancy massage during any of your pregnancies? All right. Still see some more people coming in. So I'll go ahead and just start. So as she said, I've been doing this actually 40 years now. I graduated from massage school in 1979, so I'm now 40 years into the profession. And pregnancy massage is one of my favorite things to do. I very much enjoy working with the women through all the stages. And so you often hear that we have first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, and what do you do during each of those trimesters? So we can go over that and answer any questions, especially about first trimesters, what most people are concerned about. And then also, a lot of folks go into the birth. We actually do labor massage. I've attended upwards of 60 births, which is not a lot compared to midwives. And somebody did have a pregnancy massage. Glad to see that. It's really amazing. I did teach a class recently before all of this happened, and we had a pregnant woman in it. And she got 2 massages during the course, and she came back and said that's the best she's felt the whole pregnancy. So pregnant women really need this. So when we are all cleared, I'm hoping soon, as we all are, and we can get back to work, pregnant women are really going to need this. We don't want them under stress. And that stress can actually impact babies' growth and the baby's sense of safety. So we know that mothers and babies are really, one. They're one unit, and they're really intertwined. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a PowerPoint of the pregnancy massage that I do. and we will talk about the, we'll go ahead and get that up and running. So she's going to now put that screen up for us. Okay. There we go. And let me go back a little bit. Okay. So as you can see that screen, I can't quite see. I'm still, okay, what are we doing there? I don't want that. I just want it to move. Let me do this. Okay. I want this to be over here. Let's see. Can you guys see this? I don't know if you can see that. When I do that, I lose my ability to see what's going on. So let me know. It's a little bit challenging to, I can't see the questions. I think you're sharing the Finder window. So how do I go, sorry about that. How do you get my window alongside of this? Well, I guess you don't see anything either. Nothing's coming up yet. So if my support person can come on, let me ask her why we're not seeing that. Okay. So try going back to the screen and share the entire window. All right, let me just go back here. So can you see that? I can't see an answer there. So Jamie, you'll need to tell me, can they see that? No. All right. Well, we might not be able to do the PowerPoint then, because I can't quite figure that out. I thought we had that down. Well, let's go ahead and talk. I actually, maybe you can see some of my setup here. I put some of the pillows out here. So I use a lot of pillows when I'm doing pregnancy massage. And there are a lot of different systems out there that you can use. Once your mother is in the second trimester, we move to sideline. So there are systems where there's holes in the table or there's cushions that wrap around. And a lot of folks might like that in terms of just being able to lay face down. But really, really it's best if they, okay, so she's sending me a picture now. That's one image. Okay. I don't quite know what to do with that. So share your screen. Oh, that's what I have to do. Share my screen. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay. Do we now have a shared screen? No. All right. So is that going to share the screen there? Now your screen is a broadcast. I'm trying to do is get to the pillows. No, they're still saying nothing yet. Can you guys see me? You can see me, but you just can't see my shared screen. It's the shared screen right there. All right, we better just keep going. Just open up the PowerPoint, okay? All right, can you see that? I can't see anybody else, but maybe you can see that. Oh, it just looks like it's still me. Anyway, let me go back and see if you guys, is anybody seeing that? Still nothing? Sorry about that. All right, well, I'm going to go back to talking because I can't figure all that out. Anyway, so pillows are the best bet. And I really, there you can get all the systems. They're great. There's Oakworks has a wonderful sideline positioning system. Pillows don't cost a lot. So what you want first is a really thick pillow that goes under the head and allows them to have freedom in their shoulder. So that'll be one. You want a squishy one to hug. So they got to have one to put their arms on when they're laying on their side. So you did see it for a while. You can see your screen and you. Okay, but I couldn't see it. Okay. Well, here's the PowerPoint again. So it looks like if you can see that. So I'll go ahead and talk a little bit, and then I'll check back in to see if you're seeing it. So we have the thick king-size pillow, thick one for the head, a huggable one, and then the thick one for the legs, and an additional standard one, which really helps with the arms. We begin with sideline. We like a folded pillow behind the back of the head. And the client may relax in this position at a 45-degree angle. Okay, so I'm going to need to call her to find out. Okay. I'm calling our support person.
Hello.
Hey, I can't quite figure this out. Looks like we had it before.
Yeah, so you'll want to click that square again with the arrow coming out.
Okay.
And then you should have a black pop-up or whatever color it is. And then you should see it's a application window, your entire screen, and Chrome tab. With application window selected, you'll want to click the first box you see and then click share.
Okay.
Actually,
I
sorry,
see
why don't
this.
you just go to your entire screen.
Okay, because
So
I'm clicking that arrow and
window.
it's not doing anything. Like when I click that arrow, it doesn't do anything. So I can go back to showing the entire screen and they just won't see me. Does that work?
They'll see you. Here, let's.
Is my PowerPoint up?
Not yet. Try. I'm going to remove your screen. Try sharing once more.
Okay. Could it be that my PowerPoint's not in Chrome? Well, no, that wouldn't make sense. That's not it. Are you seeing the PowerPoint?
Not yet. So if you clicked share screen, did you click your entire screen and then select that window?
Okay. For some reason now we're locking up. I'm hitting escape. Okay, there we go. All right, so click your entire screen. I'm back on. And there's this one. And then I see three things. I see application. I see your entire screen. Is that what I click?
Yep, click that. And then once you click that, click the actual picture of the screen and then click share.
Your screen is now presented in broadcast. Okay.
All right, now you should be able to pull up your PowerPoint and now it should work.
All right. Let me just go back and start again. Pull up the PowerPoint. Okay. Should I put it on slideshow or just leave it like that? Well,
I would put it on slideshow.
okay. Okay. Do you guys see it now?
It looks good.
Okay, all right. I can't see anything, so I can't see questions. So you'll have to text them to me.
Will do.
Okay. Bye. All right, so back to the pillows. So sorry about that, technical glitches. So we've got this really thick pillow, one to hug, one under the head. This is a very affordable setup, so you don't have to spend a lot of money. And I find my pregnant women really like sideline. There are those few who want the face down, but you can't do deep lower back work on someone face down when they're pregnant. You can when they're sideline, and they all have aches and pains in their lower back. Some of you who've had pregnancy massage may remember that. So, all right, just leave it on messages. So I put them at a 45-degree angle. I usually put a pillow behind them. And then I'll begin with a really good scalp and face massage. And that just feels wonderful. A lot of people don't realize that even the bones in your skull expand when you're pregnant. That's why women tend to get spacier. It's a combination of hormones, fluids, and your head just feels different. They even say your eyesight changes, and not to get glasses when you're pregnant. So starting them with their head, just get them out of their head. Not everybody wants their hair messed up, but if they don't mind, feels wonderful. And I use that technique in labor a lot because it's deeply relaxing. You know, if that client particularly likes scalp massage, then that will work very well. The other areas that can come up are jaw tension and sinus congestion. Those are other reasons not to put them face down, especially sinuses. And that feels really good to do some good draining. They can get a sinus congestion that's really just related to pregnancy. And then if you add seasonal allergies, it can be worse. The jaw is very important to feel that release along the jaw, especially as you get close to the time of delivery. There is a connection in the fascial network between your jaw and your hips. So if you're really tight in your hips, then you'll be tight in your jaw. So that's just something to be aware of. And I do this on my ladies all the way into labor. When they get on their side, you want to make sure that the hip, the knee, and the ankle are in a nice plane so they can really release that tension in the lower back. That thick pillow between the knee and the ankle, and make sure the foot isn't hanging off, is really beneficial. My moms often say, oh, I had no idea that that would take away a lot of my hip pain, just having my foot completely supported so that there's no drag on it. We begin, as I said, with the sideline now. They're completely sidelined. I can't really demo this very well, but what it is, to describe it, is you're going to have them slide back about 4 inches from the edge of the table, and you're going to have your shoulders and the hips all in the same plane. So straight along your massage table, about 4 inches for the shoulders, 4 inches for the hips. And that means that you direct yourself toward the head for some of the techniques and toward the feet for some of the techniques. I do have all of this on a video if you're interested. It's on my website. Then we work the shoulders after we do the neck, and just loosening up those shoulders, breast size increase, pulling back and opening the chest up. We all drive, we're all on the computers, we're all on our phones. All those things compress the front of the chest, so you want to open that up and feel that whole shoulder getting a nice warm up. The next thing I do is I pull down on the shoulders and get a nice stretch of the neck. Now, when I teach this in my workshops, a lot of my students will say to me, oh my God, this feels great. It's like a great regular massage on the side. And that's true. So then we have the arms. And so I follow the Swedish model when I work on the arms. And I have that fourth pillow. So if you remember, I have 4 pillows. I have a thick one under the head, thick one king between the knees, a huggable one. And then I had one more on top of the huggable one to kind of stretch the arms straight out. Oh, what are the benefits of prenatal massage? Well, let's put this on hold for just a second. The benefits are huge. The mother gets a deep relaxation effect. That in turn, the baby feels that sense of relaxation. the stress hormones, which are high right now, drop. When the mother is in a state of relaxation, the baby is in a state of relaxation. It will decrease blood pressure. It will also benefit in terms of common discomforts, heartburn, lower back pain, swollen legs, achy feet, a sense of well-being. When you do get pregnancy massage and you get it all the way up to the time of giving birth, you tend to go into the birth much more relaxed. And that can prevent a lot of interventions. Your body works better when it's relaxed. So it's a wonderful thing. So working the arms, we go Swedish model, head back up. So just following that. I know this is just kind of a quick synopsis of what a pregnancy massage looks like. This is a wonderful stretch where you bring the arm above the head and they get this wonderful opening on the side of their body. And so the body is really expanding front to back, as well as the sides are stretching. And this opens all of that up. My moms really love this particular technique. So one is a stroke down the back or the side, and the other one is a stretch. So, and then there's another technique where we bring the arm behind the back if they have that flexibility, and we work that shoulder blade. Usually what people will ask is, can you work deep? And she's still working her job. So say she's another massage therapist. Say she's a hairdresser. Say she's working on a computer. She needs those shoulders worked. There is a point we stay away from, and it's very deep right here. It's called gallbladder 21. And we don't press deeply on it, but we can massage across it. And the reason we don't press deeply on it is because it could descend things. So I'm getting some good questions about contraindications. And there are definitely contraindications. So as I continue along with some of the pictures, we're going to effleurage down the back. We're going to do some opening in the waistline. This is a nice stretch. So if your mother, as we move farther down into there, yes, a lot of women actually do receive this. This is a very popular, I get more pregnancy than postpartum, even though I think they really need postpartum as well. So I'm just going to continue through the whole sequence. We do some deep piriformis work. But as we get down into the legs, we do some stretching, and that's a little squat stretch. It might be hard to see how all this works together, but the legs are going to be, I'm going to leave it here because the question was contraindications. And the legs are going to be one of the places where you may see a reason to say, no, we cannot do this massage. If she is swollen up to her knee, it is normal. If she's swollen past her knee, it is not normal. And we need to know why. If it's two legs, it could be something called preeclampsia, which means the kidneys aren't functioning properly and the fluid is backing up in the system, and it could be life-threatening to mother and baby. She needs to be seen medically ASAP. If one leg is swollen, then it might be that she could have a blood clot. And unfortunately, that happens both in pregnancy and in postpartum. And preeclampsia can happen in postpartum as well, too. So you have to really assess swelling in the leg. There'll be other times when she may know whether or not she could get a massage, according to that. Okay, so there's a question on heartburn. What I would do with heartburn is I would raise the table up a little bit and have them at an angle, or I would also add additional pillows underneath them. So if you can do them sitting up, if you have one of those tables, you could start at sitting up. But laying them sideline, as long as it's not too uncomfortable, they can do that, but add pillows underneath their torso to kind of lift them up a little bit. And suggest they don't eat a big meal before they come for their massage. These are some points on the feet. I love working the feet. It's one of my favorite things to do. So there's a hip and a lot of hip discomfort. The medial arch is the spine. The digestive area is in the arch of the foot. And the sinuses are also great places to work. I even do belly massage. So Some women have some round ligament pain in the 4 to 6 month period, the second trimester, and this very gentle stroke moving up from the base up can feel just absolutely wonderful. There's something called rocking the baby, which is really fun and will get the baby moving. And these are some energy holds that we can bring the massage to a close. We do one side, then we roll them over and do the other side. I do the belly in the middle. This is a really sweet one. It's for the baby. We've had babies kicking during that. So these are some of the points you stay away from when you ask contraindications. Oh yeah, I've got some good stories. Let me come back online so you can see me, and I'll tell you some of my pregnancy stories. This is the uterus point right here. That one can get labor going. I've actually gotten it on a fetal monitor, and many of my students have, and some nurses who've taken my class have done that, doulas. And so that will get uterine contractions going. You avoid the hoku and the web until that point where you can work it when they're ready to have the baby. It's great for postpartum. Pituitary also increases oxytocin. And then spleen 6 is another point that we stay away from until they're ready to have the baby. These are just some fun pictures, but I actually have a picture of my granddaughter being born, so that's kind of a beautiful thing. And I was there. I was massaging her through her entire pregnancy, and I was there for the labor and didn't have time to do a lot of massage, but it worked out really well. So I'm going to take it off of this now and escape and come back to you guys. So hello. All right. So now I can see it. Okay, so you got to see a very quick rundown of some of these things that are what I do with pregnancy massage. So let me go back. Somebody asked me a really fun one. Let me go back and find that. Have I ever done, are there any women who went through labor naturally after getting a massage? Yes, lots of them actually. I've had 2 in my classes that both first-time mom, one in Wisconsin, actually in Madison. I was at an AMTA conference and she got massages as my demo, and then she got a massage. She was my labor demo, and then she got another massage from the class when they did their practicals. And then that night we were all in the same hotel. I saw her at dinner and I said, "You look a little funny. What's going on?" She said, "I feel like somebody's dancing on my cervix." And she was breathing heavily. She wasn't eating as well. I thought, things are happening. So I said, "Here's my room. Call me when you need me." And I did some labor massage on her. She left about 8 o'clock in the morning. This was the 3rd day of my 3-day class, and delivered at 12 noon. Completely natural, first baby. Luckily, the birth center was about 20 minutes away. And it's a great story. And I had another one in my class who, luckily her husband drove her to class. We're very glad of that, because I don't like laboring women to drive. And she stood up after a birth video I had shown in my presentation, and she said, "I don't think I'm peeing." And we have 4 labor and delivery nurses in that class. We're like, "Okay, we're good." So I said, "Have you eaten today?" And she had not eaten much. I said, "You need a protein smoothie." So her husband, we called him in, and she got a protein smoothie, and literally door to door, 12 hours, first baby. The lady who's on my video, I massaged her 6 hours off of my massage table to delivery. Next baby, 3.5 hours off my massage table to delivery. So I've done a lot of labor births. I mean, I could just keep telling stories for another, couple hours. So it really works. And if more women had us, I believe there would be less intervention, because the deep relaxation effect, really, our bodies are intelligent. They know what to do. So how often throughout the pregnancy do clients come for massages? I say in the 2nd trimester, it's great to come once a month if money's an issue. If you don't have a money problem, come every week. I'd be glad to see you, no problem. So once a month in the 2nd trimester, and when you get to 3rd trimester, when you have more discomforts because you're bigger, and some of you might remember that, about every 2 weeks. And if she is one of those people, and I will definitely cut my price to help people out. I say come 2 weeks before your due date, because the baby could come early, and if you get a massage then and the baby doesn't come, then they could get one as they're closer. So I'm located in North Carolina. I do travel to Chicago to teach. So my daughter happens to be there right now and pregnant, and I'm very sad because we had a class scheduled for early May and we've had to cancel it. And she would have been one of the moms at the workshop. She's due the end of July. So I'm hoping to get up there, and she is having a home birth, which I'm very grateful for. It's her third baby, and she does pretty well. Most of my pregnancy massages, I'd say second trimester, are about 60 minutes. Third trimester, 80 to 90. Sciatica. Well, that was in my PowerPoint. I know I did go through that very quickly. So the sideline work really loosens up sciatica, because you can get in there and you can open up the pelvis, just kind of stretch it. So this hand is in the front, and this hand's in the back. It's kind of hard to show like that, But I do sideline where we get the leg off the table, and I work that piriformis. I get in there and I do some stripping into the sacral areas and the glutes. And then there's points on the feet. I work the hip and the sacrum. I do some of the stretches help. So all of that can help with sciatica. Does it matter how far along multiple babies? Any contraindications of that? Twins are generally not a problem. You might want doctor's permission if you're concerned about that. Most times, I stop doing abdominal massage on anybody with twins because there's two in there and I don't know what positions they're in. I have had one lady with triplets, and that was really fun. And I had to go to the hospital and work on her there with doctor's permission because she is high risk. So you don't get a lot of triplets, but you might get some twins. Okay. When I was in the third trimester, I was told hands and feet should be avoided because it's going to trigger labor. Nope, that's a myth. I love to dispel myths because that's not true. You can work the hands, you can work the feet. Babies don't come till they're ready. If we could really get all the labors going, we'd be there, although generally they don't tend to like giving up their power, so to speak, in the hospital because they prefer to use drugs and interventions because that's what makes money. But yes, you can do all those things. A good hand massage, a good foot massage. I always feel very sad when I hear a pregnant woman say, well, they didn't work on my feet. And I'm like, oh my God, your feet need to be worked on. So I did show at the very end, and I can, pop that back up if that's a request and kind of do another quick run through so you get to see it again. Yes, you can work on their feet. And I've done lots of women where they'll come to me for, and I never call it an induced labor. That's a very medical term. I call it labor stimulation. And so they'll come and I'll stimulate all the points. But, I'm of the belief system that babies choose when they want to be born. And they're choosing that time and that moment to come in. And I think we should really let them do that. I think they're happier when they do that. So I can support a labor getting started if it needs a little jump start by working those points. I can use them in the labor to keep things moving along at a nice pace. So it can help a lot. So definitely if she's overdue, I've had lots of women come to me on Friday or Saturday because they're going to induce them on Monday. And most often they have babies before they get induced. Because once they induce, they could be putting Pitocin. If you don't know what Pitocin is a drug that actually clamps everything down. I mean, it just squeezes you. And when you have a contraction, it's like you're squeezing. And then you go, okay, I feel a little better. I can breathe. And then you're squeezing. But Pitocin, any of you've had it, it's clamping down. It's not stopping. If you haven't had an epidural, you'll need an epidural. Epidural can slow labor down. Labor slows down. Baby's heart rate goes down. We're sending you in for a cesarean. So we have 1 out of 3 women in our country have a cesarean today, when we had a 6% cesarean rate in 1970. So we know things aren't right. We know that. And so how can we help them? I try to help them ahead of time. So how far along can the mother be to receive this massage? Well, I do it all the way through labor. I've been to lots of births. I've even been to a cesarean and massaged for 20 minutes after the cesarean in the recovery room. The nurse thought it was fabulous. Let's see. If so, how many weeks must you avoid those areas? We don't do the labor stimulation points till they're about 2 weeks to their due date. Because if the baby came 2 weeks early, the baby's fine. And that meant the baby wanted to come early. So it won't work unless the baby's ready. And you can do all those things. And it's kind of like doing a warm up, doing your stretches ahead of time before an event if you're an athlete. Let's see. Okay. So students, please email admissions regarding attendance. Okay. Would this help with SPD while pregnant? So tell me what you mean by SPD. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Is there a way to use a massage to stop or slow down preterm labor if needed? No. No, it's drugs. Preterm labor means, true preterm labor is that the cervix is dilating. There are women who have lots of contractions and they even think they have preterm labor, but no, when you get checked by your midwife or doctor, you're dilating. And they're going to put you on bed rest and they're going to put you on medications, and that's a whole medical thing. I do work with preterm labor. I have to go to their homes because they can't get out and drive. I need doctor's permission, and it does help with the stress that they're under, but it won't stop. Nothing. Let's say we haven't talked first trimester. I'm kind of talking fast, trying to give you my whole class in an hour. And so you can't stop a miscarriage. Medicine cannot stop a miscarriage. There's no drug. Preterm labor, they're giving you a drug to slow down. And back in the old days, we kind of just talk about the old days, and who knows, that might be important information in the future. The midwives used to give you a shot of whiskey and send you to bed to stop labor. Now, not that I really suggest that you drink alcohol when you're pregnant, but if she was really threatening to go too soon, that was one of the remedies. And it wasn't like she drank a lot. She only drank a little bit. So that was an old time remedy. Let's see. Are there any areas that might be more sensitive on pregnant women? Their tissue. They have more fluid. So you can work deep, according to, like you always do with a client. You listen. You say, how's that feel? Is that working for you? A lot of times you've got to get the fluid to move. They get more lymphatic swelling. And so you need to find out where that is. And wherever there's lymphatic swelling, if there's pain, it could be more sensitive. Do you ever do baby massages once the baby's out of the room? I don't do them, but I tell the mother how to do them. I teach them. And I did get to massage my granddaughter because she's mine. And I have a grandson, and I've done massage on him. And now we got baby 3 on the way. So yeah, it's really important for parents to massage their own children. I was thinking of that even with this being, kind of a time when we're not all out and about, but we are with our families because, it's hard to be 6 feet away from your kids. And we could be doing massage on our children as much as possible to help de-stress them. And they've also found that when you give a massage, it actually lowers your blood pressure. So if a woman is in active labor, but contractions are not coming fast enough, labor stalling can be done if doc's approval to help continue labor. Absolutely. And you know what? A stalled labor is very normal. Sometimes the baby's waiting. Hard to know what they're waiting for. So I have seen that. I've seen a labor. Actually, I've been to a lot of home births, and I've had 2 home births myself. I've seen labors completely stop. And if the baby's fine, then that's just what the baby wants to do. And then it will start up again. It's like sometimes they're waiting for another person to get there. I've seen that, and who knows, could be an astrological sign changing or something. But yeah, so it can do that. But if, let's say, you're at a hospital and they're pushing her, and that's unfortunately what happens to a lot of women. They're like, well, you've been in labor for a whole day now, and you should be progressing. So let's get things going. Let us give you some Pitocin. And, if she's of the presence of mind and has the support to say, no, I will get up and walk around. So when you're moving Active labor is a great term. You want to be active. You need gravity to get that baby to drop down. So when we get in bed, we're in trouble, because we've just lost our best friend, gravity. Women were designed to give birth squatting. We have the squatting bars or the things that hang from the huts, and we drop our pelvis down, and the baby feels that. So get labor moving, you move. And you can do, in my class that I teach, we do a lot of movement in labor. We do like dancing, moving the hips back and forth, doing counter pressure, breathing. I recently, let's see, she's about 14 months old now. I did a birth of a young lady who's a dear friend, and I did massage for 8 hours straight, and I'm in my 60s. So I got in there, lots of counter pressure, lots of effleurages down the back, lots of jaw release, take a bathroom break whenever I could. So it's really great. So somebody is going through a doula training and has attended a birth and would love to combine massage license. Oh yeah, we were meant to be at the birth. There's a really good book called Childbirth Wisdom by Judith Goldsmith. I'll repeat that. There's a really good book, Childbirth Wisdom by Judith Goldsmith. And she studied over 500 tribes from ancient to modern times to see what was consistent for the human being. Massage was a big part of it. So we've always meant to be in there. The women were always helping the other women. We were always touching. We were using it. So somebody used acupressure on my son when he was born to help with constipation. Good. Acupressure, belly massage. I do have a PowerPoint on giving my granddaughter a massage, so we'll see how our time goes. I can pull that up now. So yeah, I mean, it's massage is nurturing is part of motherhood. So mothers need to be nurtured into motherhood. And then they're more apt to nurture their babies. And they've done studies with this, with animals, So animals who are massaged during their gestational period are more apt to be licking and snuzzling their children. So we need this bonding. This is critical for human beings. We're experiencing this event right now, and none of us like it. We don't like to be separate. We want to be connected. And so massage is such a wonderful connection. And, again, I've been in this area for over 30 years. I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. My children were born in Lake Tahoe, California. And I see now these kids I've massaged and they're in their 20s, and I massaged them when they were babies inside of their mom. Okay, can estheticians get credit also? I don't know. You'll have to check in with your board and see about that. So let's go back to some of the contraindications. So you were asking me about that, and I didn't really fully get into all of that. And so we do err on the side of caution in first trimester for a couple of reasons. Not that they can't get a massage in first trimester. I got a massage in all three of my kids, all 3 trimesters, all 3 labors, all 3 postpartum, all 3 got infant massage. I mean, I've lived this work. And but for some women, if they're having a difficult time getting pregnant, and we're going to have more of that, unfortunately. And so fertility drugs are being used, and IVF is very expensive. So if a woman has had IVF, I would recommend you might want to wait till the 2nd trimester when she has a good established placenta. You're erring on the side of caution for emotional reasons, but she's also spent a lot of money. And they also have a higher rate of miscarriage. So that's an IVF, in vitro fertilization. If she had an IUI, which is intrauterine insemination, that's pretty close to natural, and you can massage her as long as there's no other complications. We do get concerned when women are over 40 because we do miscarry more often. I miscarried at 46. So as we get older, we have a thing with our hormones where you've got estrogen and you've got progesterone. So what happens in perimenopause is progesterone drops. And you can still get pregnant because your estrogen levels are still high, but progesterone is the glue that keeps the baby in. So as you work with older moms and with moms who are going through fertility issues, you may want to err on the side of caution and not do a first trimester massage. Could we cause a miscarriage? You'd have to be abusive. You really can't cause it. We're just being cautious. So that's one of the things that often comes up. In first trimester, you can do face up, you can do face down, but you might want to have some padding around the breast area because they could be very tender. So I have one of those breast cushions that I've gotten, and that's really comfortable. So I do keep it lighter with that. Let's see, are there any other questions here that I've missed? So let me take a sip of water. So I also do fertility massage, and that's getting to be stronger. More and more women are having difficulty with conceiving, and that's sad to say, especially for those women who really want that in their life. I just saw, now we're seeing more things on the internet because we're home and we're watching it, and people are sending me these things. And this one doctor, I forget what his name was, Zach Bush, he said it's 1 in 4 women and 1 in 3 men suffer from infertility. So a lot of it is that we need to clear the toxins out of the body. So I do a lot of lymphatic drainage. I do castor oil packs. I've had very good success with PCOS, which is polyovarian cyst syndrome, which is on the rise. So, and I've worked with a lot of women through fertility and then through their birth or their pregnancy, and then some of them I've attended their birth. So it's really been full service. And then postpartum. We haven't really talked about postpartum. Women really need a massage afterward because any of you who've had kids know it's exhausting. And you feel like a truck has run over you when you've had a baby. And you are trying to put yourself back together. Maybe you have other children, or it's your first baby and you're just like overwhelmed. A postpartum, I do out calls for the first 2 weeks. Now, some people will not do a postpartum for 6 weeks, which is really a shame because women need that time. Their neck and shoulders hurt. They're feeding a baby, they're nursing, they get in awkward positions and finally get a good latch on, and they're like, oh, my shoulders. And that baby weighs 6 pounds, 7 pounds, 8 pounds, 9 pounds, 10 pounds, and you're carrying it around all the time and staring at it, and you really need some upper back work. I'm also a big castor oil person, and so you may find some of that on my website. I'm working on my booklet as we speak, Time at Home. And castor oil on the epidural site is very good because it will also help with the scar tissue that can form around the lumbar area where they put the needle in. And I also, once the cesarean scar has healed enough to touch, and she'll know when that's there, it could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. We'll do some very gentle applications of castor oil to soften the scar. And castor oil is antimicrobial, antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial. So it's a really safe oil, sticky oil to use. And so I do use it on my women postpartum for the epidural site and for the cesarean scar. Okay, so what else would you guys like to know? Trying to see. How long can the mother-to-be receive this massage? And if it's true, how many weeks must you avoid those areas? I think I do either 60 or 80-minute massages, and they're fine with that. I've never had a problem with somebody saying, oh, I'm on the table too long. So yeah, it really, really does help with that. I'm kind of going back through. You will not get labor going unless it's time. So that triggering pressure points to induce labor, they sometimes work and they sometimes don't. You got to talk to the baby, make sure the baby knows. How often do clients come? Usually, I think I answer that once a week, if they can, or every 2 weeks, once a month. With heartburn, I can possibly show you. Let me stand up a little bit here and see if I can make this work. With heartburn, there's a technique that you can teach them, and you just pull down, and you don't have to do it for them. You can just show. So here's the xiphoid tip, and it's just a stroking down, because what's happening with heartburn is they have this valve, and they are getting a regurgitation. So with that, by stroking down, that helps. And then also about getting them elevated, that helps. And there are some natural remedies, just some common sense things for heartburn. Basically, don't drink with your meals. Don't eat spicy food. I really hated giving up salsa at the end, but yeah, I had to. And just have small meals frequently. Ginger might help. I'm really against Tums. So if a client has Tums, I might suggest that they look into that, because Tums can actually cause a lot of problems later on. All right. What else would you guys like to know as we move toward our last few minutes? So let's see. Any more questions? How long? Anything else? Great stories. Love it. Active labor. Got that. Heartburn technique also work. Oh yeah, definitely. Suggestions for right after labor. I always get painful massages from the nurses on my belly after labor. Very good question. Well, they're massaging your uterus, and they're getting your uterus to clamp back down, and that's important. That will stop you from bleeding. And I hate to say it, but it is going to hurt. You just have to breathe with it. And if you work the uterus reflex point on the foot, and you do that, so sometimes the nurses will ask me to do it because they know I know what I'm doing, and I do massage and been to a lot of births, and they're busy with paperwork. So I just get in there and I just kind of start. Let's see, I'm trying to get my hand in the right place. So I'll start at the top of the belly, and I'll push down, and I'll squeeze, and I'll push down, and I'll squeeze, and you go from a grapefruit or a cantaloupe to a grapefruit to an orange to a lemon. Really important, because where the placenta was, let's imagine this is my placenta, that's all blood vessels. And how do you stop them from bleeding? Well, how do you stop bleeding? You compress. So that kneading is very, very important. Two ways that women died, and why people have a lot of fear and concern around pregnancy, especially as your grandmother and your great-grandmother, is women bled to death. And actually, it still happens today. So if women, one of the things I will say to my students, if you're doing a postpartum, I always ask the mother, how is your bleeding? If it is a pad an hour, it's too much blood. You need to call the doctor right away, call the midwife, whoever she's seeing. So that is a big contraindication. No massage, get the help right away. Maybe a piece of placenta is still inside. Maybe it didn't clamp down because they had a fibroid, which is a benign uterine growth. So any of those things could be possible, but that kneading is very important. And I did it for my daughter even the next day. Hers was about small orange, and so she did have some postpartum bleeding for a while, but it wasn't a pad an hour. But that's really important. All right, what other questions do we have? Let me see if there was any questions here. Any other questions that somebody can think of? Do you want me, so can somebody say yes to this or no? Would you like me to run through that PowerPoint one more time? It'll be kind of quick. But I don't know if that really helps. I do have a DVD on my website, so you can order that, and it goes through the entire pregnancy massage in detail. So there's that. I also have a fertility massage in case you have somebody who's trying to get pregnant and would like to try some of those techniques. And I will eventually be back up in Chicago. We might rebook that class for August. So if you're interested, you can check my website once we all get the free and clear. But we're praying for everybody to be healthy and for this to move on. So, but pregnant women really need this work. They really need this work. And if we can get our mamas to be relaxed, we're going to have better outcomes for mother, for baby. And I find those children, if you've been massaging them throughout the pregnancy, of course, I have a very strong voice. I come in the house and it's, baby's maybe 2 weeks old, and I come over to visit, bring some food, offer to do a postpartum massage. That baby turns and looks at me. Just, oh, yeah, I know you. Yeah, you're my massage therapist. So it's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. So would you guys like to see the PowerPoint again? What do you think? I'm kind of waiting for an answer before I pop it up again. If there is time. I'd have to do it pretty quickly. Let me see. Okay, so let me go. Right. Oh, here it is. Look at that. Yeah, I saw it right there. Go back. Okay. I talked to myself. Anybody else do that? PowerPoints. Some massage sequence. We're right here. All right, so I'm going to do a very quick run through. Really important to think about the pillows. You want the pillows to be comfortable. So finding your right pillows. Side lying is challenging, but if you've got the right pillows, draping is the other thing that's challenging. Let me show this as a slideshow. Current slide. Let's go back up. So head and face, focus on jaw, focus on sinuses. When she rolls on her side, make sure that pillow's under both her hip, knee, and ankle. So she's supported. That's called a kneading up through the neck. Feels really good. Opening up that shoulder. Oh my gosh, I just wish we could be together. It feels so wonderful. Stretching that shoulder out. Yep. Working the arms. Keep it going up on the arms, up on the legs. This is a side stretch. I do a lot of stretching. My pregnant women love it. My own personal journey was prenatal yoga and massage. I think really go together beautifully and really help the mother to be in her body to give birth. That's really important. You got to be there. We're avoiding that gallbladder 21 because that descends babies until about 2 weeks before her due date. You can work that shoulder blade. Long effleurages down the back. Just lots of long effleurages down the back. Petrissage feels great. This is a nice opening at the waistline. Always about creating space. Cat stretch helps with lordosis. QL helps with constipation, actually. This is the one, somebody was asking me, what do you do for sciatica? This is part of it. So I'm working, stripping off of the SI joint over to the greater trochanter, getting some nice work there. The piriformis, oh, that's like the best. I mean, you can spend a lot of time there. And you can even get your elbow in there if you get those runners, which my daughter happens to be one of those. This is called sandbag. It kind of opens up again, lumbar sacral area. Pelvic tuck, that's one I've used at birth. It works really well for getting the baby down there. This is when they've got severe lower back pain, hemorrhoids. I got to be with you to show you this one. Quadricep stretch feels really good, but very slow. I'm not doing much of a stretch, if you notice that. But it does feel good to open the front of the body, especially when we sit a lot. This one's called a modified squat. And I added this one in, and my pregnant women love this. And I've even done this in labor. So really opening everything up. We're meant to have our babies with squatting. Stroking up the legs, getting that lymphatic going, making sure there's no history of blood clots or any signs, blood clots, redness, heat, pain, one leg swollen, preeclampsia, both legs swollen, face could be swollen, hands could be swollen, no massage. Call the doctor, call the midwife. These are some places on the feet. So we had that question about somebody didn't want to work the feet because it might start labor going. Nope, that's a myth. Oh, they love that hip work. They love the spine. They love all of this. I love to work the belly. You know, again, if you know the client well and they feel very comfortable with you, babies really do track your hands and the heat, and they connect. Rocking the baby often gets movement. I've done that with some grandmothers, and they love it. So that's it. And this is a closing energy hold. And then these are the points we don't work till they're ready to have the baby. Uterus, hoku, pituitary on the big toe, spleen. So those are all of those points that you can do with that. All right. I think we hit 5 o'clock. Is there any other questions? I very much enjoyed doing this. This is fun. So wish I could see you all. But, anything else I can help you with, let me know.